Do you guys know how anytime I'm blessed to get up here? See, I almost did it again. Kids, you are dismissed to Holy Word. Thank you, Caitlin. Oh, I have to work on the flow of that. Man. Okay, you guys know how anytime I'm blessed to be up here, I tell you to study this word. I get up here, I pound on it, and I'm like, get in this book. You guys remember that? You know how I always do that? Yeah, today's not going to be any different. So get off of Facebook, get your face in this book. I can't tell you what a difference being driven by this book, being led by this book, being covered by this book. I can't tell you just how amazing it actually is. There's not enough words for me to describe all of that. And this month, we're going to spend this month and we're going to talk about family. And we're going to talk about family from different levels. We're going to talk about biological family. We're going to talk about work family. We're going to talk about church family. And we're going to talk about the family of God. And it's one of those things that we have a tendency to take for granted. But family is all throughout this book. From literally Genesis 1 to Revelation 22. It's all about family. The first institution ever created on this planet was family. If you look in Genesis 1, verse 27, God created man and woman. He created the family unit. And would you guys care to guess what the first thing Satan attacked was? He attacked the family unit, and he attacked it with a question. Did God really say? What's your did God really say? Where does Satan trip you up? Where is he busting apart your family? And you know, if you think about it, if you have siblings, did Dad really tell you you could do that? I know Mom told you differently. Do you think it's a coincidence that that's how we poke at each other? That's how we pick and we prod? So today, of all things, I'm talking about biological family. And I say, you know, of all things, my family's crazy. My biological family is nuts. And I want to give you a little disclaimer ahead of time. There was a lot of strife and struggle growing up, and it took a whole lot of forgiveness on both sides. You know, I was just as guilty. I'm just as crazy as they are. And I've worked through all of that. You're going to hear some of the yuck. But I love my family. I would do anything for them. So, you know, just as I go through this, please don't attack my family, because that brings out this thing in me. And I know that none of you ever would, but some of the stuff that you're going to hear is a little hard. When you think about all of the issues that are going on, you can find some of it in my family. That's how crazy they are. You want to talk religions? I've got atheist, agnostic, Hindu, Jehovah's Witness, Christian, Catholic, and Muslim. They're all, these are people that I talk to, that I spend time with when we get to go to Colorado. These are people that I see. We got all these religions, faiths going on. You want to talk politics. I got Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Green Party, Tea Party, and Independents. You want to talk gender and sexual preference. I've got straight, gay, transgender, bisexual. You want to talk, ethnicity. I've got white, black, Hispanic, Asian, sorry, I have to run these through my head here, Middle Eastern, and indigenous. So let's just say that family reunions are a riot. You never know what's going to happen. Somebody is always mad at somebody, and it can be over anything. They're just usually mad. And if you make the mistake of picking a side, you get a whole slew of I'm going to get you for that. We used to, there are some families, like I watch my husband's family, and she didn't know this. I'm gonna pick on my mother-in-law really quick. She has a sister. Those two talk every day, without fail, sometimes multiple times a day. And I know several of you do the same thing. You talk to your siblings all the time. We don't do that because usually somebody's mad at somebody or somebody said something that was offensive, so they're too busy calling all of these others to make them mad at this one. It's just the way it is. My mom and I don't have the relationship that the two of you have. I wish I did. I do. Sitting right next to each other, my mother-in-law and her daughter. And I can't blame my mom for that. She lost a child. It was her firstborn child. She lost that child when Tammy was 6. Tammy had leukemia. And in that moment, my mom put a wall around herself. She kept us all out here. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. She couldn't take the pain of going through that again. So by keeping us all out here, she was safe from that. But there's a cost. And that cost is our relationship. And there's more to it. There's a ton of dysfunction. There's a whole lot of dirt. And it's made a lot of this difficult. My dad was not a believer until literally 3 days before he died. He was paralyzed in a car accident. He was paralyzed from the neck down in the middle of my sister going through leukemia treatments. He had gotten in a car accident, was paralyzed from the neck down. At that point in time, my mom had 2 boys, as well as my sister who was sick. And now she has an invalid for a husband. So by the time I came around, and there's a son in between that and then me, they were done. So the whole family system thing was confusing to me for a really, really long time. It actually wasn't until I dove into this book that I started to understand it. Because remember, I said my family's crazy. No joke. Start in Genesis 12, go through Genesis 50. You are going to see Abraham and his kids, and then his grandkids, and then his great-grandchildren. You're 4 generations in that span, and they were all nuts. I mean, somebody told me once that the Bible was boring. All I did was, I'm like, read the first book. If you can come back to me and tell me that it's boring after that, I will never bother you again. You want mystery? It's in there. You want murder? It's in there. You name it. Some of these, I know most of the children are out of here. There's rape. There's incest. There's Abraham. Okay, Abraham twice pretended that his wife was his sister. And not only that, but he taught his son how to do the very same thing. They love to play favorites. Jacob had a favorite, Joseph, and that cost Joseph dearly. He got thrown in a well. Then he got sold into slavery. They're absolutely nuts. So, when I first, I guess I have to color out. I made a trade with Crystal. Initially, Crystal was going to do this one, and then some things came up, and so we decided to switch. This was perfect for Crystal to do. Crystal loves her family, but God had other plans. He knew that there were some other things that needed to be talked about. So we're going to take a look at 4 scriptures today, and we're going to see what the Bible tells us about biological family. And these 4 scriptures I've given you, they're going to be on the screens, but seriously, study them at home. They're so cool. They're all the stuff that's tucked away in these. It's just amazing. We are actually going to start in the 10 Commandments. So we're going to start in Exodus 20, and we're going to look at verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Okay, now we have to understand that the Israelites spent 400 years, actually more than 400 years, in captivity in Egypt. That's generation after generation after generation. They had lost their history. So they didn't remember the creation story. They didn't really have a relationship with God. What they were hearing about was all of these Egyptian gods. And they created all of this fear. And the Egyptians, to try and keep the Israelites in line, they would just randomly pull families apart. They would separate mother and daughter, father and son. They would cause battles, between them. If an Israelite child was not married by the age of 13, or at least betrothed, she was subject to be raped by anyone with no penalty. It was perfectly legal. Boys from the age of 10 could be taken to work in the mines, carving out stone and all of that. And when they were taken away from mom and dad. They would actually live somewhere else. So when God put that commandment in there, what he was really saying, this was not somebody saying do this or else. What he was saying was, guys, I love you. I want a relationship with you. But I need you to know I'm not going to separate your family. You're going to have some dirt and some junk. But I'm not going to separate you from your family. Keep that in your mind. Treat your parents with that respect. Create that family system. Create the ability for mother and daughter to sit next to each other. Brother and sister. Create that environment. That's what he's saying there. Now, for somebody like me, I'm between my mother's baggage and my baggage, we made for a toxic combination. Doesn't mean I don't love her. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love me. But we are toxic together. We fight. We holler. We scream. We tear each other down. We literally look like this. How many of you want to take a drink of that? But with Christ, you have the opportunity to not do that. And that's what I had to learn. I had to learn that I may not have that type of a relationship with my mom. I may never have it. But she's still my mom. She's still the one that gave birth to me. And I'm going to respect her. And I'm going to love her. And I'm going to do the best I can in that situation. Some of you are in that very same boat. It might be an issue with your parent. It might be an issue with your child. You may have a prodigal child running the wrong way. They're still your child. And it's tough because you're dealing with a whole lot of toxic. But God makes it pretty clear. He doesn't want us to separate. He's saying, don't do that. Don't make the mistakes that were made for 400 plus years. Do better. Because you have me covering you, you can do better. You have that ability. The next one we're going to take a look at is in Proverbs. And it is in Proverbs 6. And actually, this particular verse you will find all throughout Proverbs. You'll find it in different ways. We're going to look at Proverbs 6, verse 20. My son, keep your father's command and don't reject your mother's teaching. Now, this was written by Solomon. And, Solomon is obviously, he's the son of David. And God granted him wisdom, lots of wisdom. Wisdom as measureless as the sand in the seashores. And that wisdom got the better of him because he knew from the get-go he was supposed to have one wife. He wound up between wives and concubines. He had over 1,000. He was supposed to keep his father's commands because his father followed God. But he didn't. He made a boatload of mistakes, and his kids, you want to talk about crazy again, read about his kids. His kids were going to go crazy, but he was talking to one son here. It's likely his son with Shulamite. Shulamite is arguably the love of his life, even though there were 1,000. She is arguably the love of his life. That's actually where the Song of Solomon comes from. So this is likely her son with him that he's talking to, and he's telling his son, don't make the mistakes I made. Your mom has been following the will of God. Listen to her. I'm going to do my best to teach you, even though I have messed it up. I have completely wrecked it, but I'm going to try. That's what Solomon is saying here. Now, in my family, again, remember, my family's crazy. Jesus Christ was a cuss word. it wasn't the leader and the writer of this book. It was a cuss word. And it was used a lot in that fashion. I told you that my dad didn't believe in Christ until 3 days before he died. He had a stroke, and in the middle of that, God made it very clear that he did exist, and that it was time for my dad to turn his life over to him. Now, I am thankful, I am so thankful that I will get to see him again, but I was this close to not getting to see him again. Maybe one of you guys is walking through something like that. Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter, a niece, a nephew. Don't stop praying for him. Don't stop trying. That's what this book is all about. This is a love story. This is God saying, I love you. I want a relationship with each and every one of you. I handpicked every one of you. There's not a single person that you're going to meet today, tomorrow, or anywhere that's not God's child. They're your family. They're your family. And now we're going to jump. We're going to jump all the way to 1 Timothy. And the letter to Timothy was written by Paul. And Timothy was having some problems in the church. More than likely, this is the church in Ephesus. And they weren't taking care of their moms. They weren't taking care of kids without homes. You know, when mom's husband died, because again, in that day and age, women, we were chattel. Okay, we were something that could be bought, sold, and traded. So our value in that day and age came from our marriage. So if our husband passed away, we became a widow. Somebody had to take care of us because we didn't have a job outside of the home. And in Ephesus, these women were being left alone. They were being left to starve to death. You know, you heard a few weeks ago about religious leaders actually taking everything from those widows. So what Paul tells Timothy in chapter 5, verse 8, but if anyone does not provide for his own family, especially for his own household, he has denied the faith, and he is worse than an unbeliever. That's harsh. That's tough. But it's true. Family. It's all about family. Can I pick on you guys just a little bit? Thank you. I didn't ask ahead of time, and I really should have. When my father-in-law passed away, I watched. Chad wasn't in the picture yet. He was coming soon. But I watched all of those wrap their arms around that woman. They carried her through it, walked with her through it, and they loved her through it. Whether it was a financial need, a physical need, an emotional need, her family did the best to meet it. That's what this is about. That's what that passage in Timothy is about. There have been times in Bob's and my marriage. We lived in Colorado for a while, so I was around my family, and we got to have family live with us. They brought their chaos with them, but they were family. We had issues where, one of them living with us would be mad at somebody else. So then all of a sudden, because we had that person living with us, it was our fault. And this chaos just, it was like somebody took a lid off. It was just, oh my word. Let that, let that permeate the room. And it seeped its way into who we were. We believed in Christ, but we didn't have that relationship yet. We weren't studying this. So they could easily poke and prod and force us to drink this. But what Paul's telling Timothy here is, don't let that happen. Keep everybody grounded in this book. Stay grounded in this book. And again, maybe my kind of crazy has woven its way into your family. Maybe not as much, hopefully not as much, but maybe it has. Do your best. Don't let this toxicity infiltrate you. It's going to happen. They're going to push, they're going to poke, they're going to prod. But don't let it happen. And then, of all things, I stumbled across another passage. And this one threw me for a loop. It took me a long time to figure this one out. And seriously, I'm going to say it again. Study this. Study it. And this one is in Luke. Luke is one of my favorites. I know, I can hear the chuckling over here because I say that every book's my favorite. But Luke is good. And in the middle of this, he's arguing with some Pharisees and some people are questioning, different things, that he's doing. And literally, right smack dab in the middle of his teaching, we find in Luke 11, verses 27 and 28. As he was saying these things, a woman from the crowd raised her voice and said to him, "Blessed is the womb that bore you and the one who nursed you." And then Jesus responded, "Rather, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it." Now that word keep means to guard, to hold it close to you, to allow it to cover you. So at first glance, it might look like Jesus is kind of dissing his mom, but he's not. You find out later, he basically tells John, he says, "This is your mom." He had the utmost love and respect for his mom. That had nothing to do with this verse. What he was saying is, get your face in this book. Get in here. Be grounded in this. This is where your salvation comes from. I love my mother. I will fight tooth and nail. I will fight to the death for my mother. But my salvation is found in this book. And see, here's the deal. Every family is crazy on some level. There's some level of toxicity in your family. And you have people on the outside. Like Pam and I have been put in a situation that we have to work pretty closely with each other. And while it really hasn't been like a major thing, there are times that we get a little irritated, or she has a few of these headed her way, because of forgetting to text me. I'm just saying. No, that one will be a while. But people from the outside, they throw darts all the time. But if you study this book, you know that you wear the full armor of God. Amen. It can't get through, right? But family, they know your weak spots. My brother knows right where to hit me where it hurts. My mom, she knows the exact thing to say to have me bawling on the floor. From 1,700 miles away, she can do that. The question is, do you let that chaos permeate you? Because it's going to. Family knows where to hurt you. They know where to push, pull, and tug. They know how to get you off track. But what Jesus is saying here, if you are grounded in this, if you are in this every day, letting it permeate you, none of their toxicity will affect you. Not any of it. Get off of social media. Get in this book. Your love story is found here. I should have brought my phone up. It's not found on your phone. It's found in this book. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much that you are our cover. You're our rear guard, our foreguard. You are our protector. More than anything, Father, you are our salvation, and you are our love story. Father, we are putting our hope, our trust, and our belief in you, and we do that because we know like we know anything, that you will take care of us. Father, as each one of these individuals heads out into whatever today has for them, Father, meet them in their greatest need. Draw them into your book. Give them a heart and a passion to study your word. And Father, let it be about you. Let it be about you and your relationship with your children that you love more than anything. And we're going to thank you ahead of time for all of the incredible miracles that we're about to see. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I had a blast. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.